Hi.
Alright, so I guess this is where I start. I've been married to Jennifer for 17 years. 17 damn years. We met in college, both broke as hell, both dreaming of making something of ourselves. She was the ambitious, go-getter type, the kind of person who walked into a room and made everyone notice her. I was the quiet, steady one, the guy who made sure everything in the background ran smoothly. For a long time we were a team. I worked my way up in programming, eventually moving into management. She built her career in marketing. We bought a house, had 2 kids, did everything a couple was supposed to do. But over time things changed. At first it was small. Jennifer started staying late at work more often. At first I didn't question it. Her job was demanding and I trusted her. But then when my own career took a hit, when I got laid off and ended up staying home with the kids, she stopped seeing me as an equal. I don't think I noticed it at the time, but looking back I can see it. The way she started acting like I was less than because I wasn't making as much money anymore. I did everything at home. Cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids. I wasn't just a stay-at-home dad. I was the one keeping our whole damn family together. And Jennifer? She was barely around. When she was always on her phone, texting or scrolling, barely talking to me or the kids. One night, about a year ago, I remember sitting across from her at dinner, watching her type away on her phone, and I asked, "Who are you always talking to?" She barely looked up. "Work," she said. "It never stops." I didn't push. I should have. But when you've been with someone for nearly 2 decades, you assume the best. That was my first mistake. After that night, something started gnawing at me. Maybe it was the way Jennifer never put her phone down. Maybe it was how she barely looked at me anymore, like I was just another piece of furniture in the house. Or maybe it was how she stopped caring about the kids. I'd see it every evening. Our daughter Emily trying to tell her about school, our son Jake wanting to show her his latest Lego build. And Jennifer? She'd nod absent-mindedly, say, "That's nice, sweetie," and then go right back to her phone. It pissed me off. I wasn't perfect, but I was there. I listened. I helped with homework, packed lunches, made sure our home didn't fall apart. Meanwhile, Jennifer seemed like she couldn't be bothered. Then came the nights out. It started once a month. Then twice. Then every weekend. "It's just work events," she'd say. "Networking is important," she'd remind me. I believed her at first. But then I noticed something. She never invited me. And when I'd casually ask who was there, she'd always hesitate before rattling off names. One night I decided to stay up. She was out with coworkers again. Midnight came and went. Then 1 a.m. Then 2 a.m. She finally stumbled in at 2:30, her hair messy, her makeup smudged just enough to make my stomach twist. I asked her, "Where the hell were you?" She scoffed. "Relax, Michael. I was with friends. We had a few drinks. It's not a big deal." A few drinks. She reeked of alcohol and something else I couldn't quite place. That night, as she slept beside me, I laid awake staring at the ceiling. Something was wrong. And I was going to find out what. After that night, I started paying closer attention. Jennifer had always been social, but this was different. The next weekend she was working late again. This time I casually asked, "Where's the event?" She hesitated. Just for a second. Then she said, "Same place as last time. That bar downtown." I nodded, pretending to believe her. An hour later, after she left, I did something I never thought I'd have to do in my marriage. I checked our shared bank account. And there it was. A charge from some fancy rooftop restaurant. A place we had never been together. A place that wasn't anywhere near her so-called work event. My heart started pounding. I took a deep breath and went to our phone bill. I scrolled through the numbers she had been texting the most. One stood out, a number she had been messaging constantly at all hours of the day and night. I copied it and pasted it into Google. It was some guy named Ryan. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I wanted to tell myself he was just a coworker. Maybe a friend. Maybe there was some explanation that didn't involve my wife sneaking around behind my back. But deep down I already knew. That night when she came home, at almost 3 a.m., I didn't say anything. I just laid there, staring at the ceiling again, listening to her get undressed, crawl into bed, and turn her back to me like I wasn't even there. And in that moment I knew, my marriage was already over. The next morning I watched Jennifer like a hawk. She acted normal, too normal. Smiling at the kids, sipping her coffee, scrolling on her phone like she didn't come home at 3 a.m. from God knows where. I felt sick. I wanted to grab her phone and scroll through her messages, shove the evidence in her face and make her explain herself. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I played along. "Hey, how was last night?" I asked casually. She barely looked up. "Good. Just the usual crowd." "Yeah. Who all was there?" Again, that split-second hesitation. "You know, just coworkers. Sarah, Michelle, a few others." "No Ryan." She didn't mention him. I nodded slowly. "Sounds fun." She kissed my cheek like nothing was wrong, grabbed her purse and left for work. The second the door closed, I grabbed my laptop. I had to know for sure. I logged into our phone account and pulled up her call logs. She had deleted her messages, but she couldn't erase the records. There it was again. Ryan's number. They talked every morning. They texted all day. She called him before she came home at night. I sat back, gripping the armrest of my chair so hard my fingers hurt. She was cheating. It wasn't even a question anymore. I had two choices: confront her now or wait and get more proof. I chose the second. Because when I finally confronted Jennifer, I wanted there to be no way she could lie her way out of it. Now that I knew, really knew, I couldn't unsee it. Jennifer wasn't just distant, she was checked out. Every conversation was rushed, every excuse was half-hearted. She barely even pretended to care anymore. I needed more proof. Something undeniable. So I decided to set a trap. That weekend, she told me she had another work event. I played dumb. Smiled. Said, "Have fun." The moment she left, I grabbed my keys and followed her. Now let me be clear, I didn't want to be that guy. The jealous, paranoid husband. But after everything I had to see it with my own eyes. She didn't go to the downtown bar like she claimed. She drove straight to a hotel. I watched from my car as she parked, checked her makeup in the mirror, and walked inside like she belonged there. No hesitation. No second thoughts. A few minutes later, Ryan walked in after her. That was it. That was all I needed. I sat there, gripping the steering wheel, my blood boiling. I could have stormed in right then. I could have caught them in the act. But I didn't. I needed more. I needed her to destroy herself completely. I didn't confront her that night. I wanted to. My hands were shaking as I drove home, my mind racing with every possible way this could go down. But I knew Jennifer. She was a liar. A smooth one. If I came at her with just my word, she'd twist it, gaslight me, make me feel like I was the crazy one. So I waited. When she came home past midnight, smelling like perfume and cheap hotel air, I was sitting on the couch, pretending to be half asleep. "You're up?" she asked, pausing in the doorway. "Yeah. Couldn't sleep." I rubbed my eyes and looked at her. "How was the event?" She smiled and walked over, kissing me on the forehead. "Exhausting. You know how these things are." Oh yeah. I knew exactly how they were. For the next few days, I played the role of the clueless husband. I was extra nice, extra loving. I even made her coffee in the mornings. Why? Because I wanted her to relax. I wanted her to think she was getting away with it. That way, when I finally pulled the rug out from under her, she'd have no time to spin her lies. And it worked. She got careless. One night, she left her phone on the nightstand while she showered. I never had the passcode before, she changed it months ago. But I had been watching. Studying. And when she unlocked it earlier that day, I caught the numbers. I picked it up, my heart pounding, and entered the code. It opened. And what I saw next made my stomach turn. The second Jennifer's phone unlocked, my hands started shaking. I knew what I was about to see. But knowing and seeing are two different things. I went straight to her messages. Ryan's name was pinned at the top. I tapped it. And there it was. Message after message. Her telling him she missed him. Talking about how Michael is so boring now he has no ambition anymore. Complaining that I wasn't the man she married. Then came the photos. Some were just of her in cute outfits, but then, one's of her in lingerie. One's taken from a hotel room. I felt my throat tighten. But the worst part wasn't even the cheating. It was how much she enjoyed it. One message from her hit me like a truck. I love how free I feel with you. With Michael I feel stuck. But with you I feel alive. 17 years of marriage. 17 years of love, loyalty, sacrifices, and this is what I get? I heard the shower turn off. I had seconds before she came out. So I did the only thing that made sense. I took screenshots of everything and sent them to myself. Then I deleted the sent messages so she wouldn't see. The second I put the phone down, she walked out, towel wrapped around her, humming like she didn't just rip my heart out. I looked at her. Really looked at her. And I felt nothing. No love. No anger. No sadness. Just a cold, hard realization. Jennifer wasn't my wife anymore. She was just another liar. But if she thought she was getting away with this, she had no idea what was coming. That night I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes I saw those messages. Those pictures. The way she talked about me like I was some burden, some useless thing she had to tolerate. By morning my plan was set. I wasn't just going to confront Jennifer. That would be too easy. Too kind. I was going to make sure she destroyed herself. Step 1. Talk to a lawyer. I took the day off from job hunting and met with a divorce attorney. I showed him the messages, the pictures, the proof. He didn't even blink. "You've got her," he said. "With this evidence you can walk away with the house, full custody of the kids and spousal support. Especially if she's spending marital funds on this affair." I hadn't even thought of that. Wait, you mean if she used our money for hotels or gifts? That's financial infidelity. Judges don't like that. I felt a small spark of satisfaction. Jennifer thought she was playing me, but she was funding her own downfall. Step 2. Gather more evidence. I spent the next few days going through our finances. Sure enough, there were hotel charges, expensive dinners, even a damn spa day she had paid for with our joint account. All for Ryan. Every time I found another transaction, my anger cooled a little more. Not because I forgave her, but because I knew she was going to lose everything. Step 3. The final act. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to scream. I was going to let her dig her own grave. So I waited. And sure enough, a few nights later, Jennifer gave me the perfect opportunity. She was getting ready to go out again, another work event. She stood in front of the mirror, fixing her hair, looking like she had no worries in the world. I sat on the bed, watching her. "You look nice," I said casually. She smiled. "Thanks, babe." "Babe. Babe." I almost laughed. "Where's the event again?" I asked. "Oh, same bar as last time," she lied smoothly. I nodded. "Well, have fun. Love you." She froze for just a second. Then forced a smile. "Love you too." That was the last time she would ever say those words to me. Because while she was out, I was setting everything in motion. And when she came home, her entire world was going to crumble. As soon as Jennifer left, I went to work. First, I printed out every single text, photo, and bank statement. A full dossier of her betrayal. Then, I sent a message to a few key people. Her parents. The in-laws who always thought I was too quiet but a good man. Her closest friends. The ones she gossiped with, but probably never told about Ryan. Ryan's wife. Oh yeah, I found out he was married. Each message was simple. "Hey, I thought you should know what Jennifer's been up to." Here's some proof. And then, I waited. At around midnight, I heard the door unlock. Jennifer tiptoed in, probably thinking I was asleep. I wasn't. I was sitting in the living room, sipping a whiskey, her phone's charger in my hand. She stopped in the doorway. "Why are you up?" I smiled. "Couldn't sleep. Thought I'd wait for my wife to come home. You know, from her big work event." Something in my tone must have set off alarm bells because she gave a nervous laugh. "Yeah, it ran late. You know how these things are." I nodded. "Yeah. I do." Then I reached to the table beside me and slid the stack of papers toward her. She frowned, stepping closer. "What is this?" "Your affair, Jennifer." She went pale. Her hands shook as she flipped through the pages. The texts. The bank records. The hotel stays. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Tried again. "Michael. I can explain." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Can you? Because I'd love to hear how these pictures of you in a hotel room were just innocent fun." She crumbled. Her legs gave out and she slumped onto the couch, her face in her hands. "Michael, please." I stood up, towering over her. "Don't. I know everything. And guess what? So do your parents. Your friends. And oh, Ryan's wife. She knows too." She jerked her head up, eyes wide. "You what?" "I sent everything, Jennifer. Every last detail. Your perfect little life. It's over." She burst into tears. Sobbing. I watched her, completely numb. Once her tears would have broken me. But now they meant nothing. And the best part? This was only the beginning of her downfall. Jennifer sat there, her face buried in her hands, sobbing like her life was over. And honestly, it was. She tried to speak, gasping between sobs. "Michael, please tell me you didn't send it to my parents." I leaned back, arms crossed. "Oh, I did. And your friends. And Ryan's wife." She physically flinched at that last part. "No, no, no, no." She whispered, rocking back and forth. Reality was sinking in. I let her sit in it for a moment. Let her feel what I had felt for months. Finally she looked up, eyes red and desperate. "Michael, we can fix this. We don't have to do this. Please don't throw away our family." I actually laughed. Laughed. "Throw away our family? Jennifer, you did that. You threw away 17 years for some loser who doesn't even respect you enough to leave his own wife." Her mouth opened, then closed. She had no defense. That's when I hit her with the final blow. "By the way, I spoke to a lawyer. I'm divorcing you. And guess what? With all this evidence, I'm taking the house and the kids." Her entire body locked up. "No. No, you can't do that, Michael. You can't take my kids from me." I stood up, towering over her. Calm. Cold. Unshaken. "Watch me." She lost it. Full-on panic attack. Crying, gasping, shaking her head. "Michael, I was stupid. It didn't mean anything. I was just lost, I was confused." "Oh, you were confused? That's funny, Jennifer, because you looked pretty damn sure in those messages." She grabbed my arm, desperation in her grip. "Please just talk to me. We can fix this. I love you." I ripped my arm away. "You don't love me. You love what I provide. And that ends now." She stared at me, realization dawning. She wasn't in control anymore. I walked to the door, grabbing my keys. "You should probably call your parents. They sounded pretty disappointed in you." And with that, I walked out. Behind me, Jennifer screamed. Not in anger. Not in defiance. But in pure, soul-crushing regret. I drove around for a while after leaving the house, letting the silence sink in. My phone buzzed non-stop, calls from Jennifer, messages from her friends, even a couple from her parents. I ignored them all. By the time I got home, Jennifer was still sitting on the couch, knees pulled up to her chest, her phone clutched in her hands like it was a lifeline. She looked up at me, eyes swollen from crying. "Michael, please." I walked past her like she wasn't even there. She followed me. "Just talk to me. Let's go to therapy, let's work through this." I turned to her, my face blank. "Jennifer, I don't love you anymore. I don't even respect you. There's nothing to work through." Her face twisted in pain. "I made a mistake." "No, you made a choice. Over and over again. And now you're dealing with the consequences." She collapsed onto the floor, sobbing. I just watched. I wasn't going to comfort her. Not this time. Then the next blow came. Her phone rang. She looked at the screen and her face dropped. It was her dad. She hesitated before answering, putting it on speaker. "Daddy, please let me explain." His voice was ice cold. "You cheated on your husband. You threw away your family. What the hell is there to explain?" Jennifer flinched like she had been slapped. I didn't mean to." "We raised you better than this," he cut her off. "You betrayed your husband. You betrayed your kids. How do you even look at yourself in the mirror?" She started bawling. I didn't say a word. Then her mom spoke. "We are so ashamed of you, Jennifer." She let out the ugliest cry I had ever heard. Her father sighed. "Don't bother coming over for Sunday dinner. We need some time to process this." Click. Jennifer sat there, shaking. Her own parents had disowned her, at least for now. And as much as I wanted to say something cruel, I didn't. I just turned and walked upstairs. Because nothing I said could hurt her more than she had already hurt herself. The next morning I woke up to my phone buzzing non-stop. I groggily checked the screen, dozens of missed calls and messages. Not from Jennifer. From Ryan's wife. I smirked. "Showtime." I finally answered. Before I could even say hello, she exploded. "That disgusting excuse for a husband has been lying to my face for months. Months. And your wife is a damn homewrecker." I stayed quiet, letting her rage. He admitted it all. The hotels, the sneaking around, the texts, I made him tell me everything. And guess what? He didn't even try to fight for our marriage. Just sat there like a pathetic coward while I threw his crap out onto the lawn. Damn. I almost felt bad for the guy. Almost. "I can't believe I was so stupid," she continued, her voice shaking. "He told me he was helping a coworker through a rough time. Turns out he was just helping himself to her, wasn't he?" I let out a short laugh. "Yep. Sounds about right." She sighed deeply. "Michael, I just wanted to thank you for telling me. I don't know what I would have done if I stayed in the dark." "You deserve to know," I said simply. "And Jennifer?" she asked. "How's she handling it?" I glanced toward the living room, where Jennifer was still curled up on the couch, eyes hollow, staring at nothing. "Not well." She snorted. "Good." Then, before hanging up, she said something that made me grin. "Don't worry. I'll make sure Ryan regrets every second of this." Oh, I had no doubt. Meanwhile, Jennifer had no idea that her boyfriend had just been kicked to the curb. Later that afternoon, Jennifer finally spoke. Not the usual sobbing. Not the desperate pleading. This time her voice was small. Weak. Defeated. "Michael, have you talked to Ryan?" I turned to her slowly. "No." "Why?" She swallowed hard. I haven't heard from him. He won't answer my calls. He blocked me." I let that sink in. She wasn't crying about losing me. She wasn't even crying about her kids. She was crying because her side piece had bailed on her. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "Huh. Guess you weren't as special to him as you thought." She flinched like I had hit her. "Michael, please. I don't know what to do." I tilted my head. "What do you mean? You said you felt alive with him. This is what you wanted, right?" Tears welled up in her eyes again. "I was wrong." I shrugged. "Yeah. You were." She sniffled. I thought he loved me. And that's when I lost it. I laughed. A deep, bitter laugh that scared her. Jennifer, you were never special to him. You were a fling. A distraction. And now that his wife threw him out, he doesn't need you anymore. Her lip trembled. I didn't mean to ruin everything. I stepped closer, looking her dead in the eyes. But you did. She broke down completely. But I didn't care. Because now she had nothing. No Ryan. No friends. No support. And soon, no husband. The next morning, Jennifer woke up looking like a ghost. Eyes hollow, face pale, her once perfect hair now a tangled mess. I was already dressed. Calm. Ready. She sat up slowly, rubbing her temples. Michael, can we talk? I slid a manila envelope onto the bed beside her. No need. Everything I have to say is in there. She stared at it like it was a bomb. Hands shaking, she reached for it and pulled out the divorce papers. Her breath hitched. You already filed? I nodded. Yesterday. Tears welled up instantly. Michael, please. You don't have to do this. We can fix this. I sighed. Jennifer. It's done. She shook her head violently. No. We've been together for 17 years. You can't just throw that away. I leaned forward, staring her dead in the eyes. You threw it away the moment you crawled into bed with him. She gasped like I had slapped her. Now, I continued, voice ice cold. You have two choices. Sign the papers and we do this the easy way. Or fight it and I bury you in court. She clutched the papers, her whole body trembling. Michael. I don't want to lose you. I stood up, grabbing my keys. You already did. Then I walked out, leaving her completely shattered. A week passed. Jennifer barely left the bedroom. She wasn't eating much. She wasn't talking. Just a shell of the woman who once thought she could do better than me. And honestly, I didn't care. She did this to herself. The divorce papers sat untouched on the nightstand. Every day I asked the same question. Did you sign them? Every day she just shook her head, tears in her eyes. Please, Michael. Just, give me a chance to fix this. I never answered. Then one night everything fell apart for good. I was putting the kids to bed when I heard screaming from our bedroom. Not crying. Screaming. I rushed in to find Jennifer throwing clothes, knocking over furniture, tearing through drawers. Where is it? She shrieked, her voice wild. Where's what? I asked, keeping my distance. She whirled around, eyes crazy, hair a tangled mess. My ring. My wedding ring. I took it off, but now I can't find it. I stared at her. She was losing it. Why do you care? I asked. You didn't care about our marriage when you were with him. She froze, her chest heaving, eyes glossy. Then she collapsed to her knees. Broken. I ruined everything, she whispered, voice barely there. I didn't respond. She looked up at me, completely destroyed. Michael, please don't make me go through this divorce. Please. I don't want to lose you. For the first time in weeks, I crouched down and looked her straight in the eyes. Jennifer, you lost me the second you chose him. A sob ripped through her. I stood up, grabbed a pen from the desk, and set it on the nightstand beside the divorce papers. Sign them. Then I walked out. An hour later I heard her scribbling her name. It was over. 17 years, gone. But for the first time in a long time, I finally felt free.
Goodbye.